How are we doing, YouTube? It's your friendly gamer SmartEntity here. Today we're going to do a complete review on the Sancti Castanas, the new Loka Syndicate weapon. So I have a comparison table here between the Syndicate and the non-Syndicate versions of the Castanas, and in this case it is a complete upgrade with the Syndicate weapon. So we have an additional 15% extra electricity damage. In addition, we have a 5% extra status as well as a 5% extra crit chance. Now, as usual, the status really isn't that significant, but a 15% increase in damage is actually enormous, especially if we're going to chuck in mods, which will amplify that enormously. The 5% crit chance is great in that it will allow us to do more damage overall, so more DPS, but it doesn't really affect the modding compared to the normal Castanas. And on that note, we'll have a look at the modding. Now, when you first get this weapon, you get 2V and the ice polarity, so I've put in a potato and 4 more formers, so 2V and 2 bar polarities to achieve this maximum build. Now, this is a short-range weapon for all intents and purposes because of 2 reasons. One, there is a traveling arc, i.e. there is a arc between you firing and you hitting the enemy. And secondly, there is a projectile speed, which means it's not hit scan, so it does cause a bit of time between you throwing the Castanas and it actually hitting the enemy. So because of these 2 factors, you can't reliably hit enemies at long range, and for that reason it's mainly a short to mid-range weapon. And because of that, Magnum Force is justified, i.e. we're not too worried about the loss in accuracy. So a quick look at the build I have here is Hornet Strike, Barrel Diffusion, Lethal Torrent, your base mods, Magnum Force, and Peasant Rounds and Convulsion for your corrosive, Heated Charge for 90% extra heat damage, and we can put in Pestilence or Jolt for the additional corrosive. So this is a tower build, and of course this is a infested build. Now this weapon is a situational weapon, it's AoE, it's a launcher type-ish weapon, which means it only has a magazine reserve of 30. So because of that, it's really made for infested defense. Okay, so let's have a look at Warframe Builder. So as usual, I've transferred the build over. So this is a Syndicate Castana, and here we have the normal Castana. Now, you can compare the total damage as well as sustained DPS between these 2 weapons, but you can't compare it with something like the Murloc or the Gamma Core. The reason is because these weapons and those weapons have completely different fire mechanic, i.e. this is AoE, so you gotta take that into consideration. Also, this is throw and detonate, and sometimes you really have to time your detonates, so you can't really compare between different types of weapons in this case, but you can compare between the 2 weapons. So we have at base, additional 15% extra electricity damage with the Syndicate Castanas, and if we look at the total damage, we got about 5600 with total damage and just under 9000 for sustained DPS. And with the normal Castanas, it's 47,500 for total damage and 76,000 for sustained DPS. So overall, sustained DPS is about 1300 lower, and for total damage, we're looking at about 900 lower. So it's very significant. Now, to be fair, like I was saying before, because this is a launcher type weapon, it only have 30 ammo. Now, to be honest, during gameplay, I usually find myself to actually be okay with ammo. I think partially it may be because the enemies are dropping more sniper ammo, which is what this weapon uses, and also because it does have 30 versus the normal 20 that the primary weapons have as far as magazine capacity, magazine reserve capacity goes. So I never really found myself to really need more ammo, especially if you're using a primary and a melee weapon. But having said that, if you are in need of more ammo, you can obviously use a pistol ammo mutation. If you are going to use that mod, you should take out Pestilence, and that'll pretty much give you almost infinite ammo, because that'll convert all other type of ammos into your pistol / sniper ammo for the Castanas. Now, if you do decide to put this ammo mutation mod in, you do lose quite a bit of damage. So before we're looking at about 5600 for total, and now we're down to 48. As far as sustained DPS goes, before we're well above the 8000, just under 9000, now we're looking at 7700. And if we compare this build with the normal Castanas, surprisingly-ish, it's still better as far as damage goes. So that pretty much gives you guys an idea of how much a 15% base damage increase does for a weapon. I mean, of course, there is a 5% additional crit as well, which helps, but it almost surpasses, well, it does surpass another mod slot. Alrighty, so we're going to do some gameplay. Today we're going to do it on Simony on series. Why? Because we have a credit tribute as well as a reserve tribute of 0%. Now, generally people would say if the tax on these tributes is greater than 20%, it's good to avoid these missions. Personally, I avoid these missions even if the tax on either the credit or the resource is 5%. So I only do missions where the tax is 0% for both of them. That's just me. It's worked out for me quite nicely. Today is actually the first time in a long time that I've done Dark Sector, just because it's been a while since we've seen 0 tax. Alrighty, so let's get to it, find some enemies, and have a work with the damage numbers. Now, to be fair, I was actually here a few minutes ago testing this out myself without recording, and I can say the damage numbers are pretty impressive. So, of course, it's AoE, and with a single shot, we're looking at about 1700, and we are facing enemies around level 40-ish. Now, during gameplay, I usually fire both my Castana magazines together, and with AoE, that's actually enough damage to pretty much kill all enemies on this map up to wave 5. Haven't tested any longer than that because there's no reason to do it any longer than that. Now, you may have noticed I am using the Mirage Warframe here, and the reason for that is because Mirage's Hall of Mirrors as well as Eclipse works very well with AoE type weapons. Now, all of Mirage's copies do a bit of damage, but they're not that great at aiming. Now, that's not really a problem with this particular weapon because it's AoE, so you're gonna hit those enemies anyway. So, as you can see, if we do a waypoint of 9 meters and fire the Castanas, the scatter is pretty significant, but it doesn't matter that much because it's, again, AoE. Now, shortly, the gauge on the bottom right hand corner will fill up, and we can have a look at the purity innate power. So there we go, this is your purity. What that basically does is it does 1000 AoE corrosive in addition to recovering 25% of your health and give you a 25% maximum health boost for 30 seconds. Alrighty, so we're in wave 4 now, and I am using the build that I've shown you guys before, i.e. without pistol ammo mutation. As you can see, I'm still almost at max ammo really, and I haven't really used my primary or melee at all. And now enemies are actually above level 40, and we can still do pretty much one-shot them. And we'll just wait until Hall of Mirrors go out, and we'll try one-shotting this guy here. Okay, that hit literally nothing. Yeah, so we're still one-shotting them, no problem. And that's very reproducible as well. Now just quickly show off the arc of this weapon. So we're gonna just get a waypoint here on, so looking about 17 meters-ish. Looking at 42 meters-ish. Now to be fair, I do have Magnum Force on here, but as you can see, it's a very, very obvious and significant arc. In addition, the traveling speed or the projectile speed of the Castanas isn't really that fast either. And in fact, I will show this off quickly versus the Boulder Prime. So if you look at the projectile speed of the Boulder Prime, that's pretty fast. Of course, different weapons, so it's not really representative, but if you look at the projectile speed, that just gives you guys a bit of a comparison and a bit of an idea of the difference in projectile speed. So we had a level 42 healer at full HP, and we didn't really one-shot that, but I mean, a couple shots does the trick, so really no issue there. Finally, let's put this weapon on a scale and compare it with other weapons. So, for low level speed kill, now this weapon was not meant for a low level speed kill, it was not meant for exterminate because it's meant for AoE, and in exterminate enemies are usually scattered, and this is a high damaging weapon, so wasting a Castana on a enemy is just a waste. So I'll give it a 3 for low level speed kill. For high level utility I'll give it a 7 because even though it's not the best situation to use this weapon at a 60-minute plus T3 T4 survival, and even though it's not the weapon I would use in those situations, I cannot deny the fact that if you're in a corridor and you basically force enemies to filter through a bottleneck, chucking the Castanas on those corridors do have a lot of damage potential, and this weapon is very good in those situations. As far as AoE potential goes, so the mission you just saw was of course summoning on series a dark sector defense with infested units, and to be honest, that's the type of mission that this weapon was made for, and this is a situational weapon, and that's the situation that you want to use this weapon. So I give it an 8. I mean, at this stage you basically have this and the Angstrom as your two top tier secondary launcher AoE type weapons, and this one I would say is a bit better than the Angstrom just because the Angstrom is a lot easier to kill yourself with, and this weapon is a bit more friendly on that side. As far as subjective factors go, I mean, honestly I started hating launcher AoE type weapons ever since the ammo nerf. Before the ammo nerf, the Penta was pretty much my go-to weapon for all high level gameplay, because back then we didn't have a lot of the weapons we have currently, and the Penta was very ammo efficient with a 540 magazine size. Now with a 20% magazine size and the secondaries, i.e. this and the Angstrom having a 30% magazine size, I just do not like these weapons as much. And of course the fact that this weapon can cause self-harm, i.e. forcing you to sometimes hit an enemy and then run away and then detonate, really isn't helping this as far as enjoyment goes. So I give it a 3. So overall 5.25. Now 5.25 is actually really high. It definitely justifies this weapon as a top tier weapon. It definitely justifies the potato as well as the Formus. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you guys like this weapon or not, and which Syndicate weapon you guys like the most. We all know we hate the Red Veil weapon the most, and for me, I personally like the Murloc the most, and I know a lot of people like the Gamma Core a lot. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Please comment and subscribe. Cheers.